I'm Katie from the Michigan Medical School Grants Office. In this video, I'll explain the federal cost principles for faculty working on federally funded projects. Firstly, I'd like to cover what is meant by cost principles. The cost principles are a part of the Code of Federal Regulations 200, Subpart E, also known as Uniform Guidance. These cost principles are set forth by the federal government about what uses of government funds are appropriate and legal. In other words, the federal cost principles are a federal legal agreement to which any federally sponsored investigator must adhere. This is important because any federal awards received by investigators are legally awarded to the Regents of the University of Michigan. Therefore, if any individual investigator fails to adhere to these cost principles, the entire University of Michigan may lose access to federal funding. There are three main cost principles to which costs on federally funded awards must adhere. A given cost must be allowable, allocable, and reasonable. Allowable means that a cost must be allowable under federal regulations, program guidelines, and grant-specific requirements. Allocable means that a cost must directly benefit the project and must do so in proportion to the amount charged. Reasonable means that a cost must be in an amount which a reasonable person would pay under similar circumstances. Over the next few slides, I'll go into each of these in a bit more detail. There is, of course, much more federal legal language, which you can find a link to in the video description. Allowable costs are those which are necessary for the project as outlined in the application and subsequent award agreement. These must be allowable under the federal regulations, the program guidelines, and the grant-specific requirements for your specific award. For example, if you are doing a project with proposed and awarded animal studies and related expenses, purchasing of those animals is allowable. But animal work needs to be vetted, no pun intended, and approved by the sponsor. If this animal work was not proposed in the award you received, then the associated costs are not inherently allowable and would need prior approval from the sponsor. For another example, if you have proposed and been awarded a project working with single-celled organisms and you attempt to purchase a motorcycle, this cost is not allowable. If you need a specific piece of equipment which is necessary for the completion of the project, but you neglected to include this equipment in your proposal, this cost is not allowable and may require additional pre-authorization processing with the sponsor. Working with your department's pre-award administrator before submitting the project budget is necessary in ensuring that all expenses necessary to complete your specific aims are included in the proposal and are allowable per sponsor guidelines. Allocable costs are those which are incurred specifically for the project and nothing more. Think of this as a type of itemization of expenses, ensuring that the project funds are being spent on only the specific project at hand. For example, if you purchase $1,000 worth of pipette tips with the intention of using them on two different research projects, the expense must be proportionally distributed to those two projects, with $500 charged on each project rather than all charge on one. It is necessary for the PI to review financial statements as they have firsthand knowledge of what was purchased and how it was used. Reasonable costs are, as the title suggests, costs which are reasonable in amount for the project in question. The cost principles state that a cost should not exceed the amount which a prudent person would incur in the same purchasing circumstances. For example, if you have many options of vendors to choose from which to purchase a piece of equipment, and most vendors charge $1,200 for it, but one charges $5,000 for it, the reasonable choice would be to purchase the less expensive item, given that both options serve the same purpose with the same efficiency. One way to ensure that expenses are reasonable is to carry out purchases through university-approved vendors. Typically, these approved vendors have contracts with the University of Michigan to ensure that we can purchase their goods and services for a reasonable price. Hopefully, the information covered in this video helps you to understand the cost principles and how they apply to your federally sponsored awards. If you have more questions, you should feel free to reach out to msgrants@umich.edu and to contact your department's research administrators.